Alright everybody, welcome to another forecast video. I'm currently recording this around 3 p.m. Central Daylight Time on June 12, 2022. Here you are, we're looking at the hazards map on the Weather Prediction Center, or National Weather Service page, sorry. We have a lot of orange, pink, and purple out there. Those oranges are heat advisories across the areas, as there's going to be a lot of heat. Purple here, this is excessive heat warnings, and then we have red flag warnings. And I think red flag watches as well out. So a lot of stuff is going to be happening across the United States. We're going to have a big old ridge of high pressure kind of generally in this region. We're going to have storm patterns that are going to kind of go around it like this, and the upper halves of the ridges are going to get severe weather, and pretty significant severe weather in some cases as well. Well, kind of the central United States area kind of just sits in this dome of heat. We're going to go into that a little bit more, but we're getting into that classic Ring of Fire pattern that we didn't have too much of last year. We had it a few times, but we're already getting into it, and it's only mid-June. If we go over to the Storm Prediction Center's page, we have a Day 1 outlook today. We have an enhanced risk across the high plains in Wyoming, Montana, Nebraska, and South Dakota. Hail and wind are expected, significant as well. We also have a couple other areas of slight risks. We have one in North Carolina and Virginia, another one out in the Ohio River Valley as well, from Missouri all the way over to the Columbus and Cincinnati areas. Not quite Columbus. We have a couple areas of tornado risk, one across Indiana, Kentucky, and Illinois, another across North Carolina and Virginia, and then the higher end risk, not high end, but a decent chance of tornadoes today across Wyoming, Montana, and South Dakota there. Places like Rapid City, Gillette, Spearfish, Rapid Valley, and Sturgis are going to be included in that, and we have an expansive 2% surrounding that. From there, 30 significant wind risk across the high plains, including South Dakota and Nebraska. A 30 sig hail, including South Dakota, Wyoming, and Montana, where storms are expected to be discrete. Looking in the Day 2 outlook, this is where things are going to get interesting. So, the probabilities are not high yet, but I am expecting an enhanced risk whenever we get placement down. It'll probably be a huge enhanced risk. Something like this will probably be added within the next outlook cycle or something. So there are models that are going absolutely nuts with MCS/derecho potential tomorrow afternoon, so be on the guard for that. We have another area to watch across the high plains with Wyoming, Montana, South Dakota, and North Dakota, and Minnesota at risk. Looking into our tornado probabilities, there are two areas. Both site risk regions have tornado potential. I think the Midwest region both regions could get upgraded, but it's a conditional upgrade for both regions. We'll have to see when there's a huge 15% significant risk region stretching from areas near Milwaukee and Chicago all the way through the Pittsburgh metro. I expect that to be expanded more, potentially a little bit more southward, and also potentially get expanded more southeastward as well, maybe northwest, depending upon how MCS kind of trajects. A large 15 sig hail is also in place across portions of South Dakota and North Dakota, as we're expecting very large hail with a few initial supercells that will provide some tornado potential as well. An enhanced risk is possible if we get a more narrow corridor outline with stuff. Severe weather is also expected on Day 3. There's a couple areas to watch, one in the Mid-Atlantic and then one from kind of Kansas, Nebraska, all the way up into the North Dakota, South Dakota border, and then out into Minnesota. Strong storms are going to be possible. Hazards are a little bit uncertain, but we think all hazards are going to be possible. Day 4 could be another significant severe weather day, stretching across Wisconsin, Upper Michigan, Southeast Minnesota, and Iowa, potentially even into Illinois, and maybe further southward as well. This is going to be another day to watch. All hazards are possible, potentially significant as well, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. Here's what we call the HRIF. This is an ensemble of all the cams or convective allowing models. Now, this run I don't think is loaded fully today, which is unfortunate, but here we are. We have a strong belt of flow out across the Rocky Mountains region, which will enhance severe potential there. Rocky Mountains / High Plains. There's another area in here that's going to enhance the severe potential out across the Ohio Valley, which we already have a few severe storms ongoing. But this is when we're probably going to see supercells start to initiate around 21Z or so, which is about pretty close to now, and they'll progress eastward. And then looking, this same feature is going to be the thing that's going to really impact tomorrow's severe risk. It strengthens, and there's another feature down here, which is what's going to be powering a risk for an MCS across kind of this Nebraska area. And this is going to be turning into an MCV and powerful Vortmax or shortwave kind of thing. And it gets into the Midwest, and there's going to be severe potential with that. That's where our derecho potential is going to be tomorrow. Now, placement of that derecho potential is rather uncertain. We can see the HRF does not have a great handle with the helicity tracks right now. We have a pretty good corridor outlined in the plains where we think potential is going to be there, but the Midwest is a huge 10% area all the way from Wisconsin and Michigan into Illinois and Indiana and Ohio. There's a lot of uncertainty with that, and we'll probably get more refinements. Now, from what I'm seeing right now, if we go to the dew point mean, this is likely going to be our MCS track. I'm thinking areas in it's probably going to track something like this, go further southeastward, probably get into places in Illinois, and then kind of get into Michigan and Indiana a little bit, and probably build up. And it's just going to go dive straight through like this. Something like this is possible. Not exact, don't take this exact, but I think something like that is going to be possible. And that's why there's a huge SIG wind region in place as well. It's going to ride the dew point gradient or instability gradient as well. Also, watch for redevelopment behind the MCS. There could be some potential for a supercell risk across Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin with the MCV, which is something to monitor. Or supercells below the MCS. We'll have to watch that. Now, currently, jumping back into the surface observations, here's what we got right now. Got a big system out on the west, and we have another little disturbance out here in Canada. Going to be our power kind of things for today. 500 millibar, strong flow aloft here. We're probably going to get a tornado watch soon, or some sort of severe watch across the high plains. Will be a mesoscale discussion and a watch there. Thermodynamically, that area is improving. We're expecting ML Cape to reach 1,000 to 2,000 joules per kilogram today across that area. Here is a look at future WRAP guidance for that area. Let me get to the 18Z run there. So we're going to go to the high plains. We're going to take a look at this floater here. Here's a look at the future WRAP guidance with the vorticity maxes. We can see this is going to be the main area for tornado potential today, right in here. And that's where your 5% tornado risk is. There's also another area to watch up along the warm front in Minnesota, which we'll talk about in a second here. But tornadoes are going to be possible today along the high plains. We can look at the hodograph map, and we can see your hodographs are rather enlarged today, generally across that same area I was mentioning. They're very long and straight, which will also provide very large hail potential. And where there's a little bit more curvature in the low levels, we'll probably see some photogenic tornado potential as well. We're going to get a forecast sounding there, and we're also going to get a forecast sounding kind of in northwest Minnesota. Here's the sounding in Wyoming. This is going to favor more hail potential. A little contaminated, but very large hail is going to be possible. Here's Minnesota. I think a tornado or two. Hail and wind all appear likely. It's just coverage concerns are going to be kind of hindering it. Looking at 3 Cape here, we have a 3 Cape max across kind of northern Wyoming there, around 100 or so. That's probably going to be our local potential for maybe an isolated stronger tornado today. Strong photogenic tornado across this region. I know the sounding is a bit contaminated, but you have a lot more low-level curvature here. You can see in your hodograph. Backed winds in the surface and strong flow aloft. Hail is going to be possible because I think the low-level shear is just weak enough to get some large hail because of the more crosswise profiles a little bit in the upper levels. The low levels are pretty streamwise. Very steep lapse rates, and D-Cape is rather low, so we're not going to get outflow dominant storms. And not as likely chance of an outflow dominant storm. So, again, here's the 15Z wrap. We're going to watch this for our feature wave that's going to start off in the plains tonight. There's going to be another area to watch today across South Dakota, or across Kansas, Nebraska, and Colorado. Significant wind potential is possible as an MCS moves in from that area. These two features kind of collide in Minnesota, and we get a stronger little shortwave. The wrap doesn't pick it up as well because it's more low res, but we get a stronger little shortwave that goes across the region. Now, looking at the HRRR, you can clearly pick it up with it as it loads. It was on the 18Z run, so apologies. Well, we can see this feature starts to get going there. excuse me, in Kansas. You can see MCV really kicking off there. You also have the northwest flow, which the MCV is going to collide with, and that's just going to enhance the flow. It gets rather solid across the region and dives southward, and it strengthens rapidly. And there probably will be severe potential with that kind of area of flow. Even on Tuesday, as it goes off the coast, there's going to be some potential on the backside for some strong storms before that goes off the coast. Here's a look at here's a look at the Tuesday system for the high plains. Or northern plains. Another severe threat will exist. We'll take a sounding there, up in like northern Minnesota there. Not a very good sounding. Looks a bit capped still. You can kind of see the surface flow pattern though. We have a strong low pressure here and here. Storm's kind of off the coast. There's like a potential that this could organize into a decent low pressure, but tropical development is unlikely with it. Now let's go to 850 millibar flow or 700 millibar, whatever. Oh, 850. Or 700, and you can see the shortwave impulse right here, pretty strong one too, 60-70 knots. As we get a little bit later into the day, we start to see a rear inflow jet develop with the MCS, and we can move down into the Ohio Valley region and kind of take a look at that. We see that a rear inflow jet develops, 70+ knot flow with that rear inflow jet, and if we look at the reflectivity values, you can see pretty strong MCS is materializing. Now the HRRR, if we do a loop through here, we can see kind of the features as we go along. So the HRRR, you can see these two features right here are the features to watch. This is a previous MCS from the Northern Plains stuff, and this is the MCS from Nebraska. This is going to be something to watch. Potential for severe weather all the way into the early morning hours. We're going to be watching potential for large to maybe very large hail with these initially. This is what's going to grow into the MCS that's going to hit the plains, or going to hit the Midwest region later on. And you watch it, it kind of decays, and on the back edge of it, we start to see supercell development occur. And then around 18Z, the HRRR develops multiple intense supercells capable of large hail and significant wind production. As it moves eastward, we start to see a main bow echo start to really get going behind it, and this feature comes from Minnesota, and we can look at the hodograph here, or the overall sounding. We have MU cape of around 3,000 joules per kilogram, along with D cape of around 800, and a pretty strong hodograph. Now, there is a little bit of inversion in the low levels, actually a lot of one, which could kind of make the wind potential a little bit more marginal initially, but as surface-based instability advex in front of the MCS, we're probably going to see significant wind potential. This is a sounding in front of the MCS here. We're going to see definitely a potential for tornadoes, especially with supercells that form ahead of the line, as we see here and here. We're also going to watch embedded line circulations on the southern and northern end of the line. You can see this supercell gets swallowed up ahead of the line, and ahead of it, there's a pretty good environment. Now, it's a little bit elevated, but pretty solid. You can see this MCS dives into Ohio and really gets going. Now, there is a few supercells that form behind this MCS in Ohio, which is an interesting feature, and those would be capable of very large hail production if that would occur. Large to very large hail production. And that MCS keeps on going into the Mid-Atlantic, and we can go take a look at that if I get another HRRR tab out. And we get one into the Mid-Atlantic. So, this MCS will continue into the Mid-Atlantic if the HRRR solution was to be noted. And I think the HRRR has a pretty good handle on the setup. You can kind of see the general MCS still developing there. In the background, we see the supercells start to form ahead of it here. Moves southward into Ohio. I'm thinking there's going to be very significant wind gusts if the HRRR were to pan out. Now, there's been multiple runs with disagreement. I would say Michigan is the place where I'm thinking significant wind is most likely right now. As there's been, I think, 4 straight HRRR runs. So here, 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4 straight HRRR runs with significant wind potential across Michigan. The 0Z one yesterday had it across Ohio. The 0Z run had it in Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin, and also Michigan. So we're having a little bit of model disagreement on the exact placement, but an intense MCS seems likely at this point. This is a feature to watch. The HRRR develops a little Vulcan vortex signature on the northern end of the MCS. That would potentially produce tornado potential if it could get some nice instability in there. Let's see. A little bit behind the MCS. Well, that's the rear inflow jet. Whoops. If we take a sounding a little bit in front of the MCS, we can see not a terrible sounding, not going to be great for tornado potential though, but something to watch. And it looks like it develops into an MCV as well. And then we still have scattered storm activity pushing into the Carolinas the next day, which could provide some potential for strong to severe storms as well. And looking at that, seems pretty favorable. Maybe some more significant wind potential across that area. Now, looking into other models for the solution, we can see supercells develop tonight, and they move eastward. Here's the ARW solution of how it evolves tonight. Didn't do a great job with the supercells across Illinois this afternoon. That didn't really happen. We can see one feature kind of develops southern Illinois tonight and pushes eastward. We see this MCS gets going along the instability gradient in Wisconsin there. This will kind of push off into areas in Michigan, and this will probably produce significant wind potential. It weakens for a bit there, and then a new MCS behind it re-strengthens a little bit. And I'm not sure how much the ARW is going to be valued. Personally, with my experience, it hasn't done the best job. I would say the NSSL and HRRR are the best models for the reflectivity guidance. And the NSSL didn't do a great job on today. I would say the HRRR probably did the best job. It had supercells forming across the Illinois region, which did happen, but they weren't that intense. We can see develops another MCS across southern central Illinois tomorrow morning, pushing southward, and we have another MCS forming across the Midwest here. We can see it goes into Illinois and produces some nice wind, and then supercells form along the warm front. If this solution were to happen, we would see significant tornado potential, but the tornado potential is rather uncertain. There's another MCS that also forms because of those supercells. Now, going into the tornado risk, we're going to talk about that now. Specifically using the HRRR, we'll go to 23Z. So, tornado risk-wise, photographs across the region will be very enlarged ahead of this MCS, and you're going to have extreme amounts of instability that get pumped up northward. I think the greatest tornado threat would be in here, probably, given the fact that you have the higher instability, but the southern end of MCSs typically is more outflow dominant. So we'll have to see what happens. Looking at soundings in front of this MCS, we could see extreme CAPE over 5,000 joules per kilogram in the mixed layer, along with enlarged photographs. So if this were to happen, significant tornado potential would not be out of the realm. Very steep lapse rates and strong 3 CAPE as well. A little bit later on, we can see we still have these supercells merging into an MCS, kind of crashing into Ohio there. And again, very strong environment. So pretty significant tornado potential is possible tomorrow. Now let's get over to the Northern Plains and talk about that risk, because the Northern Plains is a risk that shouldn't be slept on as well. So today, it looks like the Northern Plains are going to have 2 areas to watch. This could evolve into our MCV tonight. It'll affect the Midwest risk. We have a couple supercells that fire off in the high plains. The supercells are supposed to fire off around 21-22Z tomorrow. These will likely move eastward. Now, there is potential that they go linear rather quickly, which this HRRR run shows. There's a lot of uncertainty with storm coverage, the depth of the low-level inversion, how outflow dominant the profiles will be, and also overall storm coverage. This HRRR run is not so great with the storm coverage. The last one had multiple intense supercells roaming across the area. This run is not so good with the coverage. So I think this area will probably stay slight unless a huge uptrend happens. I think a pretty good MCS is possible, along with elevated supercells overnight, so they might go enhanced for hail at some point, as we see. Now, let's get into stuff that may happen later next week, and looking at the NAM. So, I'm pretty sure the NAM hasn't really updated much. Yeah. So let's go into a day 3 with the NAM. So we're going to go to the 12Z run, because this new run is not updated fully yet. So here's 0Z. We have a strong trough that's located across the United States, the northern United States. Also have this feature, the MCV. It's out in the mid-Atlantic, so that wouldn't be a factor by that point, but at 18Z it will be a factor. We also have an abundant amount of moisture and theta E that's getting evected into the northern plains as well by this point. This is going to come up to a triple point somewhere in Minnesota. Now, it's probably a little bit hard to see that. Along with that, we have a warm front that's kind of located along this theta E axis. Well, actually, the warm front's probably a little bit further north, but there's some sort of boundary you can definitely tell here. You can see all that warm moisture kind of getting mixed up into here. Looks like there's going to be a high pressure station probably somewhere like here, out in the Tennessee River Valley region. Looking at your dew points, you're going to have pretty high dew points across the region. 60s, 70s are possible. Looking at your convective inhibition here, 21Z, it is pretty high. Around 0Z, though, some breaking of the cap is likely. Now, let's zoom into the northern Great Plains and kind of look at this. NAM does convect some sort of storms here that fire off along this area that I was talking about, where the SIN is a lot lower. Take a sounding in front of those along the Minnesota-Wisconsin border. Not a great environment for tornadoes. This is probably more of a wind and hail type thing, but we have moderate amounts of instability that are going to be elevated above the wind profile there, or above the inversion, are located around 700 millibars. Steep lapse rates with those, and strong decape, so I would expect maybe some significant wind, large hail as well, being a possibility. Looking at your overall low-level jet energy, we can see pretty strong across the region. Look at the vorticity as well. Maybe we could have a tornado threat along the warm front. Let me check real quick and see if there's going to be tornado potential along that warm front there, because there's a lot of vorticity. Maybe. But I think wind and hail are going to be the main threats for this day. Now, going back out to the contiguous United States region, we're going to look at 500 millibar. And severe weather is also likely on Wednesday. Another area of energy kind of moves into the Midwest and will provide potential for severe weather. The states at risk, maybe Illinois, definitely Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and the UP of Michigan are going to be the area to watch. So we have strong 500 millibar flow. We'll kind of outline that in green, or outline in blue. So we're going to outline the strongest area of flow in blue, basically this area. Okay. Looking at the instability here, we're going to outline that in orange. Orange. It looks like the instability kind of is a little bit ahead of the overall MCS, though. So the best instability is like in here, ahead of the overall flow, not MCS. Sorry, I'm getting a bunch of my terms mixed up. Looking at the best low-level jet energy, it's more placed over the risk area, I would say. So it looks like the 500 millibar flow is a bit displaced. There is some solid 500 millibar flow across the region, but that could be a problem. Upper level flow around 250 millibars, though, is rather strong. Zooming into the region, we'll go to the Midwest region. We're going to zoom in here. Let's look at our vorticity, and we're going to kind of pick out some targets here that we could see. And looks like a huge cold front with a warm front. Looks like maybe a stationary boundary warm front there. So it seems like a target definitely will be kind of this frontal boundary intercept, maybe up toward the tri-state border of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. Looks like this could be a target along this like interaction with the two boundaries there, maybe. Looks like there's a lot of vorticity and a lot of cape as well. We can take a sounding right in the area that I was talking about there. And that definitely does look like the target. There's a little bit of contamination there. I will try to get a non-contaminated sounding in a second, but huge amounts of 3 cape. Strong lapse rates that'll have potential to produce severe weather for sure. Big old instability here, located between these red and blue lines, and then a very enlarged photograph. Now that is probably overdone because of the contamination on the sounding. So I am going to find a sounding that does not have as much contamination in it. And it looks like there is a low pressure that forms, so this low pressure is going to be the area to watch. We'll take a sounding right along that. We can take a look at what it does at 0Z as well. Pretty good sounding. I think there's also going to be potential at 0Z, or not 0Z. It looks like there's going to be potential for another MCS with this setup as well, riding the instability gradient. Let's see. No, this one's actually more cold front driven. Not really riding an instability gradient. Pretty good sounding right here for tornadoes, wind, and hail. But yeah, this MCS looks more damaging wind, not damaging wind, cold front driven. Looks like there is a pretty sharp cutoff of instability right there. So yeah, that's going to be a cold front driven MCS this time that we'll have to watch. Looking at the gyro as well, for this upcoming area of severe weather potential. We can see tomorrow looks like it develops an MCS across Minnesota, Wisconsin that dives southeastward and really gets going. It looks like Illinois develops and it really gets going. It's a little bit far west, in my opinion. Looking into Friday, it looks like the severe threat is maybe going to be more in the early morning hours, and then it lifts off. Wednesday, it looks like a pretty good severe threat as well across the Midwest region. Let me take a look at that. We'll stop it at hour 81, and we'll take a look and zoom in at that. We'll go to 500 millibar here and kind of look at this. Yeah, pretty strong amount of flow aloft there. Good 850s as well. Dew points, let's see, 70s. I think this would probably be the target in kind of this northeastern Iowa region. There's a little bit more backing of the winds here. And yeah, that is the case. It looks like tornadoes, wind, and hail are going to be the main threats. Probably wind as the biggest threat out of them all. Look at the photographs here. Pretty curved, especially in that area right there in Iowa. So, going to be an area to watch. But that will do it for this one. This is a pretty long video. We had a lot to talk about today, including significant severe weather potential a few days this week. So make sure to keep an eye on the alerts, and we will see y'all in the next one.